Man, that was brutal. Oh my goodness. What a crazy, wacky way to end the season. Every single game in the Women's College World Series was bonkers. And fittingly, the Bruins fought to the bitter end, but fell just a little bit short tonight.
You are Locked On UCLA, your daily podcast on the UCLA Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to this edition of the Locked On UCLA podcast. I'm your host, Zach Anderson-Yoxsimer. Thanks for making this show your first listen each and every day. It's free, right to your podcast, and it's available on YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe, download. Thanks for your support. It's your team every day. Welcome back, everydayers. In the meantime, the UCLA softball team has seen their season come to an end. 1-2 in Oklahoma City, a dramatic win against Oregon to open it up with a walk-off bomb by Jessica Clements, and then heartbreak against Texas Tech, where you had to face Nyjah Kennedy, and the Bruins can't score. Late, weird craziness, steal of home. Bruins had the tying runs on base, couldn't come through. And then this game against Tennessee took the weirdness, the wackiness here in OKC to a whole nother level, right? You had the weird obstruction call that hurt UCLA. You had the steal of home that changed the game for Texas Tech. And then here was UCLA in this game. In the first inning, they got 2 on, and they couldn't get to Tennessee's pitcher. Of course, now I'm blanking off the top of my head, but obviously they just couldn't get to Tennessee against the Lady Vols. And you put in an infield fly rule that apparently nobody saw, nobody knows the rule, or just missed it. And if UCLA, if the runner, Jessica Clements, had just run around and touched home plate, she could have scored, and there would have been nothing Tennessee could have done. Or just stayed put at second base, or Lisa Fernandez at third could have done something, just hold the runner, and she would have safely advanced because Tennessee never tagged her out. And nobody, it seemed like on the field, knew for UCLA if that was the case. Like nobody on an infield fly. That somehow they all missed what was the call, and it was a wild game. And then that set the stage for Tennessee to take an early 2-0 lead. Then, oh my goodness, you have back-to-back home runs from, I believe, Lefty Ramirez, Sofia Mojica. The Bruins are tied 2-2, and then a late 2-run blast from Tennessee. You're like, man, Caitlin Terry was feeling it in the circle after slowly battling back in this game. The Bruins had multiple opportunities, couldn't do anything to take the lead. Tennessee took the lead. You're like, all right, this game's done. This game has nothing left, right? Well, you get to the 7th inning, you're like, all right, well, UCLA has a bit of a shot. They have some of their top of the order coming up. All of a sudden, Woolery, 2-out, base hits. Next thing you know, that's when the drama, that's when it all started. Where Megan Grant, if you missed it, if you did not watch it, you should watch the chaos. Unfortunately, it will not decide the game, but UCLA, 2 outs down to their final out. Again, hits a game-tying home run. Megan Grant sets the single-season record for the Big Ten Conference for home runs. So new year, new conference, new record for UCLA. Grant ties the game. Or did she? Runs all the way around the bases. Apparently, emphatically stomps on dirt around home plate, but apparently not on home plate. And then naturally, her teammates have her back. They're like, oh, go back and touch it. And she touches it. In which case, the rule states that you're not allowed to touch the home run hitter if you're not a base runner in front of her to direct and say, hey, this is where you can touch home plate. That's kind of this weird gray area of the rule, right? So Tennessee is like, let's review this. Let's scream. So we're sitting there on the edge of our seats after a dramatic home run for 15 to 20 minutes. I think it was 13 minutes in reality. Looking like UCLA is going to lose this game. The season's going to end on this. And after they rule, it's like it's upheld. We can't actually review this. And then Tennessee's like, all right, we're going to protest. This is BS. This is bonkers. So after all that, you're like, is UCLA season going to end on a game-tying 2-out home run because they missed home plate? And I'm like, okay. Sometimes I'm like, you don't need the whole team to stand behind home plate. Just have them stand closer to the dugout. And I'm wondering how much of base running, whether it's stepping on home plate, whether it's knowing the situations, or as a third base coach in that situation, if you're Lisa Fernandez in the first inning, knowing if that's the case, or just saying, hey, go run and touch home. Nobody knows what's going on. That would have been the most heads-up base running play if UCLA scored on the infield fly because they would have had to tag her out, and nobody knew what happened. She was inches away from that. And then if that's the case, Megan Grant's home run would have been a game-winning go-ahead blast in the 7th inning with 2 outs. Obviously, so many things change if that's the case. But after it's all said and done, UCLA tied it with a lot of controversy. And on what I think in the spirit of the rule, she missed it. You push her back in, and luckily Lefty Ramirez was there to say touch home plate, and she did. And that was that. The whole weirdness was not reviewable, even though they admitted she missed home plate and she was helped by a teammate that was on deck who is technically on the field. And you know what the on-deck hitter's responsibility is? It is to tell the runner if you're going to slide or where to go. So if you're the on-deck hitter, I wonder if you'd qualify as, hey, if you're going to direct the runner, you can also be that kind of base coach. Like, here, go touch home plate. Even though her entire team decided to say, hey, let's go for it. But that's not where the game was decided. The game was decided when UCLA had the top of their order up again, survived some Tennessee rallies, including a bottom of the 7th rally, a line drive inning-ending double play when this game went to extras, where UCLA's like, all right, they survived by the skin of their teeth. Next thing you know, the Bruins had the bases loaded. They had Woolery get on. Megan Grant gets intentionally walked in for the second part of the game, second time this game. Lefty Ramirez came up with the bases loaded and couldn't come through, where she had the biggest heads-up play to tell her teammate to touch home plate to keep the game going. Otherwise, the game ends on what would have been the most emphatic missed stomp of home plate ever in the Women's College World Series, I believe. Before UCLA had a rally, they couldn't do it, but there's too many miscues. Drop pop-ups on a ball in the air. You had almost another collision in right field where they almost dropped the ball, leading to more runs. Missed opportunities on the base running, and then just lack of execution overall. Lack of execution with runners in scoring position. Hitting, defense, base running. Overall, as much as UCLA is facing the hardest throwing pitcher in the game of softball that's ever been seen, right? There's never been a harder pitcher to face, and UCLA got a tough draw. The two best pitchers in this Women's College World Series, UCLA to face them back-to-back on like a night's rest and then wake up in the morning and play in an afternoon and play 4 hours worth of softball, lots of twists and turns in between, and the Bruins couldn't do it. Now, we did get to see some dramatics from the Bruin Bombers, some clutch home runs, some clutch hits, some opportunities. Every single time UCLA had their backs against the wall, they fought. They fought. It's just sad that in the end, with the Caitlin Terry, Taylor Tinsley combination, the Bruins couldn't get it done. Tennessee was so tough, so pesky. You just couldn't get them out. This wasn't like usual Caitlin Terry dominance. They just kept fouling all the pitches off. Like, nope. And if we're being quite honest, Tennessee should be in the winner's bracket. They had to blow it against Oklahoma to be in this loser's bracket game. So imagine if Oklahoma doesn't hit that walk-off home run against Tennessee. Maybe UCLA plays a more winnable game, or who knows? I'm not entirely sure, but wow. Every single game, from the obstruction, the steal of home, to the infield fly, to the near miss of home, to multiple bases loaded opportunities, I believe 3 of which in the last 2 games decided the season for UCLA. If they come through early against Texas Tech, when they had the bases loaded and 1 out, and Kennedy wasn't finding the strike zone, and they could have taken the lead early. And Texas Tech has not scored many runs. They've scored 4 runs in 2 games. UCLA scored that in 1 game. Today, in this game against the women's in the elimination game. So just bases loaded, simple opportunities where, yes, you're going to face the premier pitchers, the best aces. Teams are going to rely on their best arms, and they can do so in the game of softball. When it came to executing the small things, at the end of long weekends, at the end of long tournament runs, whether it be in Cathedral City, at the Mary Nutter, whether it be at the Invitational Florida, UCLA always seemed to lose this season in a heartbreaking 1-run game. And while they were on the better end of quite a few against South Carolina, against Oregon to open this, that UCLA Bruins couldn't get the sticks ready to go, and they'll have a great season. They got back to the Women's College World Series. They were on the road in the Supers. They're like, all right, we're going to win this. Let's get this done. And they were down to their last strike against South Carolina, and they came back to win that. Down to their last out, like, oh, base hit, home run. Just to get to a game 3, just to get here and get a win. So that in and of itself, was a success for UCLA as a whole. Get back to the Women's College World Series, okay. Now, can they regroup, bring back hopefully a bulk of talent mixed in with a solid recruiting class, see what they can get in the portal, and lead that to a title. And maybe when it's all said and done, it won't be Oklahoma for the 5th time, which I think everybody's hoping for. But it's about time that UCLA wins one of these again. It's easy for me to sit here chirping for my high horse. All right, blah, blah. But, it's been since 2019. Next season rolls around. It'll be 7 years since UCLA's raised the crown in 2019. 7 years. They've had some of the best players, some of the best home run hitters, most powerful lineup in terms of home runs outside of one team this UCLA lineup had all year. You could argue that's a difference in talent from the Pac-12 to the Big Ten, and I'll give that to you. But a successful run that saw UCLA second in the Big Ten regular season, second in the Big Ten tournament, and get a win in the Women's College World Series, but just a little bit shy of getting to the semifinals in the WCWS, the Women's College World Series. Great effort. You have to applaud their heart, their tenacity, their party antics in the dugout, which kept them loose and ready to go. And they fell a little short. You applaud them. And make sure in the offseason you touch all the bases when you run. You know the infield flies. And one of the better defensive teams in the country, a team that relied on 3 separate pitchers to get them here, they won. They were a successful team, a successful season. But soon enough, people are going to point to how many years it's been since they've won a title. And it's getting tougher and tougher with NIL, transfer portal. People wanting to go to Oklahoma, wanting to go to Texas Tech, leave Stanford and go to Texas Tech of all places. Like Kennedy, that's unheard of ever in the world of college sports. And that's what's happening. And is UCLA ahead of the times, with the times, or behind the times? With the NIL, the support, or realizing that's just not how college sports is going to be run in the future, in the near future. For now, we celebrate a successful season, and the sports season is all reliant upon the UCLA baseball team in terms of the last season remaining for UCLA before we head into the full off season and go into the next year, 25-26. How crazy does that sound? We're already in June. In June of 2025. June. It's crazy. We applaud the Bruins for a successful season. Thanks for, giving me a lot more gray hairs. Have my heart pounding, but they came through with successful wins and played for a full extra week on the biggest stage, and that's all you can ask for. All right. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss performances, whether it's that game-winning shot or a breakout player. There's never been a better time than now to get in the action with FanDuel, because they make it easy to stay in the game with FanDuel. Tip-off, before tip-off, live with player props, performance trends, same-game parlays. Fans, you have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. You have the battle looking for a ring. Who is it? It's the Thunder. It's the Pacers. Who would have thought that? You got Tyrese Halliburton clowning on these Knicks fans on social media. Is he going to have a big-time fourth quarter? Do you want to have that live player prop? You're like, all right, what's he going to do numbers-wise in the fourth quarter? Well, that's why you head to FanDuel. Maybe it'll be a late comeback by the Pacers as they've done all postseason long, and you want to hit them live, hedge your bet, which will be mostly Thunder, I would think, and you get some money that way. Well, how does that happen? If you're new to FanDuel, it's a perfect time to set up. Go to FanDuel.com, place your first $5 bet, and if it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, that's going to do it for us here on Locked On UCLA. Get your hands up, Bruins fans. Let's applaud these Bruin women for a successful season, getting back to OKC and giving us a lot of thrill over these last couple of weekends, all right? And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, UCLA. UCLA fights. This has been Locked On UCLA. Zach signing off. Go Bruins.